Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin, Digital Media Relations Manager here in Chesterfield. Very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. Now, I have done a lot of different podcasts. I've never done one where I had 3 guests in person in the studio at the same time, so I appreciate not just that they are all here, but if this thing goes awry, it's probably my fault, and I apologize in advance. We're going to talk about the Scholar Athlete Award that our Sports Visitation and Entertainment Department, as well as some partners at CBS 6 and its CCPS, are all sort of rolling out. We're going to talk about how this kind of came about and where it all started. Before we get going, though, I want to let everybody sort of introduce themselves. JC, we'll start with you, and we'll go to your right.
Brad, thanks, bud. JC Poma. Proud to be here, and our Sports Visitation Entertainment team is a great partner of y'all.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Happy to be here, and thanks again, man.
And this is your third time on the podcast?
Something like that.
Something like that? You're nowhere near where Matt Harris is, so
Nope.
you got a bunch to go.
Oh, Lane Casadonte, sports director at CBS 6. Sorry, I was enthralled with JC's answer.
Yeah, it was a great intro, wasn't it?
Was,
It was
yes.
a great intro.
Thanks, Brad. John Phillips. I'm with the School Division, Department of Constituent Services and Student Leadership.
Cool. And obviously, you know, having a Scholar Athlete Award, JC, I know is something that, even though it might be new for us, it's not new for this region, not new for the county in general. Let's talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame, because I know for folks who have listened to the podcast, you know, they've probably heard you on the show talking about the Hall of Fame. Give folks a sense of where that is now. I think we're looking at this as our third class. We're about to announce here soon. We're moving it a little bit in the change in terms of the time of year it gets announced. But talk to folks about the Hall of Fame and kind of how that process has gone as you guys have built that up.
Well, I think I got to give a little credit on the Hall of Fame to Lane. When we were coming out of probably the last RVA Sports Awards that we worked on together, I think one of Lane's first ideas was, we got to do this in Chesterfield County. And here we are today. So, Lane, thank you for the inspiration behind the Hall of Fame. But, you know, as we've talked about here so many times, we've got so many great stories, athletes, partnerships. Yeah. That's where this came from.
Right.
And when you look at the Hall of Fame, you really think about the past.
Yeah.
And I think we all knew we were missing. We've intertwined stories about, you know, great partners and great programs.
Right.
You know, Dr. Murray came on the Hall of Fame last year and talked about the Midlothian softball team, I think. Lane joined us as well. And so we've been intertwining some things. Yeah. And the move to the spring for the Hall of Fame was very, very intentional.
Right.
And it was to focus on the present and the future. So really combining that past, present, and future for generations to come, to have them on the same Hall of Fame wall at River City Sportsplex, where 500,000 plus people come each and every year. That was very intentional. So, John, thank you, you know, for partnering with us to move that. John's also an esteemed member of the Hall of Fame committee. So if you don't like any of the nominations, blame John.
Yes, that's it.
Well, but partly it's also Lane's fault, because he
started
it
all.
That's so basically JC's not involved. But John, from the school side, how nice is it to have this opportunity to not just focus on, you know, a lot of athletes who have come through because of and eventually land in the Hall of Fame, but then maybe these future Hall of Famers who come through for the Scholar Athlete program.
Yeah, I mean, just a tremendous opportunity, and again, I think that you know, JC, appreciate the appreciation you kind of send his way, but you know, I think I want to emphasize just the vision and collaboration from him and his team. You know, we sat together, we talked about a lot of the different ways that we try to spotlight our athletes here in Chesterfield, and this was one way that we kind of found to continue to build on that.
Right.
I mean, our athletes are so talented. You know, they're students first. Yeah. And it's a difficult decision for the principals and the ADs just to narrow it down to 2 per school.
Yeah. And then Lane, I know, you know, given your background, you've been doing this kind of thing for, you know, 3 decades now. How nice is it to continue to keep doing a lot of this sort of work, specifically when it comes to the awards? Because, and you guys correct me on the history here, but this is the last one of these sort of things that exists in this region. Is that right? How would you describe it?
In its form, it's some I wouldn't say unique, because we've done it in various forms before, but this is a rebranding, for lack of a better term.
That's fair.
And it's another way, to John's point, to highlight these kids
Yeah.
and highlight what they're achieving. I could talk about what they do on the field,
right?
But it's also nice to give them credit for what they're doing off the field,
right,
and,
yeah.
and it's not just in the classroom either, because a lot of these kids are doing a lot of community work,
right.
and a lot of volunteer work, and a lot of things outside the scope of both the classroom and then the field,
right?
And then in terms of the Hall of Fame, JC and I, this goes back to Memorial Day of 2020 during COVID.
Oh wow!
JC and his previous stop with Richmond Region Tourism. We were trying to think of some way to highlight everybody in the entire area. And I had mentioned a Richmond Sports Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. That kind of morphed into the RVA Sports Awards, but then JC localized it to Chesterfield for the Hall of Fame in Chesterfield. And you look at some of the names that have come through just the first two classes.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I mean, it is. It's a who's who of everybody. We always love to say, every time we mention Denny Hamlin, we always say Chesterfield's Denny Hamlin.
Right.
Sean Robertson and I, when we put up the name of an athlete, that when we show a soundbite from an athlete, if they're from here, in parentheses we put their high school after it,
right?
Where they went to school. Travion Henderson, Hopewell,
right?
Denny Hamlin, Manchester,
right?
All of that stuff. So we always, I get about 5.5 minutes every day to tell you everything that's happening around the area. We've already talked for more than 5.5 minutes on this right here.
That's fair, yeah.
So this is another outlet and another avenue to just, showcase what's going on around here outside of what we might be able to do on the 6 o'clock news every night.
So, JC, take us through the process for how does it work? How does a kid go from just being an athlete at one of the local high schools to being involved in this program and then ultimately chosen here soon as the Scholar Athlete Award?
Before we jump into that, Lane, you brought up 2 athletes. Both were in the Super Bowl last week. Did you happen to see Morgan crash Travion's interview?
At media night? Yes, we actually ran that. Morgan from Morgan Moses, Meadowbrook. And we throw UVA in there too for you guys, because if they played at a Virginia school, we like to throw that in too. But Morgan made sure that Travion knew Morgan never lost to Hopewell when he was at Meadowbrook. And then Travion made sure Morgan knew that he scored 5 touchdowns in his last game against Meadowbrook when he was in high school. Obviously, they're separated by, I think, 7 years or so. They didn't play each other in high school. But those rivalries run deep, and they never die.
That's true.
Even among teammates.
That's very true. So about this sort of program. Take me through it.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you think about this, it really starts the prior year. You're earning these accolades. You're becoming involved in the community. You're growing as a human being in high school. And that's what we all probably value the most, was what high school meant to us on and off the field. And so, we partnered with CCPS. We had a fairly robust application process, but it was also open-ended in the sense we wanted the DSAs. I guess we got to call them DSAs now, right, John?
They are DSAs,
All right,
sir.
DSAs.
For the folks who are listening, explain what a DSA is.
It's a director of student activities.
Okay.
They've got athletics and VHSL academic activities. They've got performing arts.
Okay.
But to all of us, they're still ADs.
They're still
athletic
ADs,
directors.
Yeah. And they, open-ended, tell us these athlete stories.
Okay.
And it was so fun to read.
Yeah, I bet.
We got together as a committee around the Hall of Fame and just looked at them.
Yeah.
For the record, the finalists have not been chosen yet.
Okay.
Look forward to that, which, is kind of the culmination at the Hall of Fame banquet on the 17th.
Yep.
But every DSA put forward 2 athletes.
Okay.
And as John said earlier, tough decision. I could tell it was a tough decision. But then, throughout the process, they all came in, the 2 finalists for each school came into CBS 6, and they put on a heck of a show. Stotts and his media team down there do a great job. And it kind of felt like we went down there. It kind of felt like they were on the big stage.
Oh, nice.
You walk in, the logos are on the wall.
Yeah.
They've got the cameras in their face. They're spinning a basketball, throwing a football.
Right.
And I think that was a fun experience in and of itself for these athletes.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us to we started the program with CBS 6 in January every week. honoring each high school's 2 student athletes that will lead us right around the beginning of April.
Okay.
And then we're there, April 17th, celebrating the past, present, and future at Stonebridge Recreation Center. Get your tickets, playchesterfield.com.
Yeah. Lane, I can imagine as you're going through, you were mentioning just a number of athletes that come through. It's probably interesting for you in not just the opportunity that you have during the seasons each year to get to know these kids, but then to see them get to this place where they have this opportunity and to be a part of this, and to JC's point, kind of being there on that stage. For you, what is it like to see these kids as they're growing up and being able to highlight their not just their exploits on the field, but then this opportunity to show just how well-rounded they are outside of their competition?
Yeah, it's – and to their points, the DSAs at each school love to be able to highlight these kids, and they send us as much information as they can. And JC mentioned our team at CBS 6, our promotions director, David Stotts, Matt Sloan, Brandy Brown, Rob Byrne, everybody that if you see the features that we do on these kids, it's their work. They were the ones that brought them in. They have the vision for that stuff, and they put all the graphics and all the video and everything to make it look like like the big time deal that it is.
For sure. Yeah.
For us, it's an easy lift because you are giving us the best of the best
of the best. Yeah.
And I can write up 30 seconds on anybody when they're, sometimes you have to cut back on the stuff because we're kind of hemmed in with the format. But it's great that there's so many kids, and it's awesome that it was such a tough selection for all these people, because that just guarantees that this has legs, it has life, and it has a shelf life, and it has a future.
Yeah. Now, John, on the school side, I can imagine too, anytime you're going to go to any staff and say, hey, we're going to add this extra thing that you've got to do, I can imagine that for DSAs, there's a lot that goes on, right? So having them have to do something else in addition to all the things they're already doing, it's a tough ask. And at the same time, I can imagine they were super excited to be able to have these kids participate in this type of program, right?
Yeah, this is that opportunity for joy, right? We talk about it all the time in schools. I mean, we're such a large school division, and again, there's so many student athletes, so many talented kids. Their only concern and their only questions to me were, did I get this right?
Yeah.
Is there any other criteria we have to consider?
Yeah.
But to Lane's point, I mean, this has legs, sustainability. We've been looking for this outlet and this gap fill as long as anybody's been willing to listen. And again, that's why we're so appreciative of both Lane and his team and JC. We try to find ways to recognize our kids all the time. We do meaningful moments. Our superintendent does them at board meetings for our athletes and our academic competitors.
Yeah.
We do seasonal CCPS All Superintendent County Awards. JC and his team got with us last year, and we started to partner with MP on the mic, and we do these weekly radio segments for each season, just spotlight what's going on, and even to include the arts in our schools. So any opportunity, and we still miss kids.
Yeah.
And it kills you, right? As a school administrator, as a school leader, you want to tell all the stories and showcase all the kids. So just to have this opportunity is we're so grateful and so happy to continue to do our work here in Chesterfield.
Yeah. Now, JC, you mentioned that we finalists haven't been chosen yet. Obviously, there's more work to be done as we're kind of going toward April. In terms of the work that still it needs to be done, and in terms of like the momentum of this thing, we're talking about this thing having legs and that kind of stuff. I can imagine from y'all's point of view, it's super exciting to have, as you mentioned, something from the present, to add, and that future piece to add to the past. As you guys look forward, are there things about this program that are still kind of coming together, or is this the way you kind of envision it being as you go forward for years and years ahead?
I love evolution. Yeah. So if these folks have any great ideas to add to it next year, all ears.
Yeah.
We have a great sponsor this year that is providing those scholarship components.
Right.
804 Travel, Ravi Patel and his team, great people, were jumped on board to support our student athletes. And I think storytelling is the big piece of this.
Right.
We never want to take Lane and I, when started that RVA Sports Awards, we were going down to the second to get off air by 9 p.m. And
we didn't make it.
We didn't make it
first couple of years.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. But for this, I want to intertwine more stories.
There you go.
We have a great announcement coming really soon. John teed up a little bit on the art side.
Okay.
A great announcement with CCPS coming about a really fun arts event.
You don't want to break any news right here on the podcast?
Can't break it just yet.
I like
it's
breaking
not
news,
breaking, but it it's got some legs. We got to get going. But a lot of storytelling.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we continue that throughout the year. So maybe it's more about that, leading up in the fall with something that we get to tell more stories about football season, basketball season. But then again, John and I's focus with the radio show, we had one request of our DSAs. Don't just put it on the major sports you see on CBS 6 every night.
Yeah.
They're talking about all the various sports.
Right.
And so I think if we could combine a way to storytell throughout the year, that would be, and we all have that. You've got your social media team. We've got our social media team.
Yeah.
But telling the grassroots stories.
Yeah.
The next side of all of this is really bringing in these high-profile events to create an identity for Chesterfield.
Yeah.
You can't do that without the grassroots level and participation of our youth at our great facilities we're opening. So continuing that throughout the year is the identity and brand that has become Chesterfield and Play Chesterfield.
Cool. All right, Lane, we're going to start our round of last questions here. I just want to give everybody a chance to sort of talk through if there's anything else you want folks to know about your part of this endeavor. If there's anything you want people to take away from this podcast with that to know about this program, what would that be from your opinion?
To JC's point, there are so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
And thankfully, when, the three of us were in high school, there were not the outlets that we have now to get it out there. People weren't consuming it the same way.
Right, that's fair.
We used to do an outstanding athlete segment once a week on CBS 6. This gives us a chance to do 22 of them, every Thursday.
Yeah.
And they're shorter, but people also get the chance to save it. And, you don't have to record it on a VHS tape anymore. Hey, look at this. Look at what was on TV last week.
Yeah.
But people will watch this in so many different ways.
Yeah.
It gets out to people in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And thankfully, all of this helps us do our job that much better, more thorough, and to John's point, get all of these stories out. And it's not just unfortunately, we focus a lot on the big 3 or 4 sports throughout the year, because those are the ones that generate the most attention. Those are the ones that have the most attendance.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that the stories stop with those 3 or 4 sports.
Yeah.
And this gives us an opportunity to shine the light where it might not normally get attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as long as we can do it, like I said, it's our promotions team does a fantastic job of highlighting all of this. The DSAs bring us all the information.
Yep.
It's an easy and a very, very worthwhile lift on our part.
Yeah, a win-win for everybody involved.
Oh, yeah.
John, from the school side, what do you want folks to take away and to know about this program?
Yeah, 2 things, really. I mean, again, the level of coordination and collaboration, again, with the county and JC's team and the school division and our community partners and local media, I think it's unprecedented. And I think it's an exciting time to be a student, a parent, a resident of Chesterfield. And I'm gonna steal this from JC, but to live and play in Chesterfield,
there you go.
I think and go to school most importantly, and I think that's the second piece is that this opportunity to shine a spotlight on our student athletes and to continue to emphasize across the board that there are so many more students like these 22 special ones that we are recognizing in this inaugural class. Those stories abound. This is what it is like to live and go to school and play in Chesterfield. And we're just excited, and I know it's going to continue to flourish. So very grateful.
We're not that far away from kids having huddle, their highlights and whatnot that begin with a segment from this. You know what I mean? Because think about it. If you're trying to get recruited at the next level to be able to say, like, not only was I great on the field, but here's this thing that I got recognized for in my community, that's huge. JC, take us home. What do you want folks to know about this program?
Dr. Casey, when he saw the first segment, Dr. Casey, our county administrator, for those who are listening and don't know, he said the number one thing he loved about that first segment was that Lane led with their scholar part of the athlete announcement.
Yeah.
They went through, their GPA and all those things. And that meant, may have been intentional, may not have been intentional, but that's what meant the most to all of us was that focus on the scholar part of the athlete was really important. And so what I want people to know about Chesterfield, all around the county, we're blessed with scholar athletes that support their community, support their school system, and help create an identity that they don't even know they're helping create for Chesterfield.
Yep.
And hopefully it's not because of a 99-yard touchdown return for touchdown interception in a playoff game that there's an identity for Chesterfield. But at the same time,
that doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt either.
It wasn't bad.
If I can jump in, JC, one of the young men on that team is also one of our SAGE representatives. He's a scholar athlete himself and just a tremendous football player. Just another story of somebody that just jumps to mind when you mention a big play.
Yeah. But that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Chesterfield is a great place, John. Thanks for teeing it up to live, work, play, and I always add in stay because the staying part helps fund a lot of this.
Absolutely,
and we're truly blessed here in the county, and I thank all of you for your partnership in helping us tell these stories.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things for those of us who either were involved in sports or are still involved in sports. Those of us who still keep up with sports. I mean, I covered Morgan Moses when he was at Meadowbrook. And I remember when his beard had a Twitter page, I mean, it's just fun to see, to your point earlier about sort of the past and the way the present and future play into that, to think about, these kids that you're going to see in this program, over the next few years that eventually down the road are going to also play in Super Bowls or representing Team USA in the Olympics or whatever it might be, that it all started here in the same fields. As I talked to Ken Oxidine last year, right? The idea that so much talent comes through, that travels these same roads, that goes through these same hallways of these schools. It's just a tremendous sense of community and what is possible right here at home. So, guys, I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to me about the Scholar Athlete program. Very much appreciate your time and looking forward to it in April.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Make sure you check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's at Chesterfield VA. On Instagram, it's Chesterfield Virginia, all one word. And on Facebook, you can check out our podcast page and search Chesterfield Behind the Mic. Now, make sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, or wherever it is that your shows are sold. And if you're so inclined to give us a rating review, we appreciate that. As always, a video version of our show is available on our YouTube channel as well as on our website at chesterfield.gov/podcast. That's where you can submit feedback anytime, make a suggestion, or you can just reach out to us. You can watch the show on WCCT Thursday through Sunday at 7, on the weekends at noon. That is Comcast Channel 98 and Verizon Channel 28. Lastly, check out chesterfield.gov/connect with us to find out a number of the ways to connect with Chesterfield County. My thanks to my director, Martin Stith, my executive producer, Teresa, Bonifas, and all the good folks from Constituent Media Services for all they do. And my thanks to you for joining us today. So, from all of us here in Chesterfield, thanks again for making us a part of your day. We'll see you again real soon. Take good care. From blogs to podcasts, and I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. Weekly video segments and newsletters, social media, the latest community news.
And this is your Chesterfield News Minute for September 19th.
How to get in touch, and everything in between. If you want to know about Chesterfield County, our Connect With Us webpage has you covered. Chesterfield.gov/connect with us. Connect with us, your source for all things Chesterfield.